Welcome back to my top 100 board game series. This is part 4, numbers 70 to 61. And these games, I feel so close to them that I would invite them to my wedding. But they're not getting name dropped in the speech. We've had some great times together over the years, and I hope we always will, but deep down, one or two of them you'll never see again. Still, bloody great lads, won't hear a bad word said about them. What were we talking about again? Oh yeah, board games. Links below, let's get on with it. At number 70 is Risk Legacy, which is a game that I started 10 years ago and still haven't finished. But when it comes to making my top 100, I'm thinking about how much fun did I have playing this game when I last played it? How strong are the memories? How good was that experience? And also, how much would I like to play this game tomorrow? And Risk Legacy gave me a brilliant time. Sadly, the people that I started playing with it 10 years ago, some of them don't live in this country anymore. And that's the downside of Risk Legacy and other legacy games, is that you start it with a group of people and then you're destined to play 15 games together. And if you don't all live in the same city and you can't make that happen on a regular basis, then it's going to be very hard for you to finish your campaign. But what I have played of the game is excellent. It's a modern take on Risk, which is a game that I loved as a kid, but I wouldn't play now because it goes on forever and you can be eliminated from it. In Risk Legacy, you keep a lot of the joy of Risk, the kind of endless dice rolling, the combat, fighting each other. You've got loads of troops and you send them into battle against someone else, the controlling continents and trying to, keep certain territories. It's got all of that, but it manages to put it into a much more streamlined game. Because to win a game of Risk Legacy, you don't have to conquer the whole world, you just have to claim 4 stars. And you own one of them at the start of the game by having your home base. So if you can conquer other players' home bases, that's how you'll get more stars. You can also collect a bunch of cards and trade them in for stars. And as the game goes on, there will be other ways to get them. But it means it's a race to finish, to get those things. And it really forces you to get fighting with each other early on. For example, you can get a star if you trade in 4 of these cards. And to get these cards, you need to conquer that territory that's on it. So it's forcing people into fights that they wouldn't necessarily have done. It wouldn't necessarily be like a brilliant tactical decision based on your location and your power at that time. But that card is available now, and if you don't get it, someone else might get it. Those cards can also be used to reinforce. Just like in Risk, at the start of your turn, you will place more troops onto the board so you can go out and attack. And you'll also get your continent bonus. If you control all of one continent, you're going to get to place way more troops on the board than the other players. You also get reinforcements from cities you control, and these are stickers that get placed on the board at the end of each game. So certain players will get to pick where they go, and then the next game you play, you'll be fighting over those cities because they're going to help you. And this is how the game develops across the campaign. Each game will feel slightly different because more things will have been added to the board. You've got places that help you defend, so if someone's attacking you there, you're much stronger. There's such a simple joy to just adapting this board that you're playing with. You never get to do that in other board games until legacy games were invented. So you get to name the cities that you're putting down. You get to write your name on the board every time you win a game. And maybe my love for Risk Legacy comes from the fact that it was my first legacy game, but there's something pure about it. It doesn't try to add loads to the game all the time. A lot of the later games are insisting on just adding lots of new rules with every single chapter that you play. So they're really condensing in this idea of, oh my god, it's evolving so much. Whereas with this, there are some really cool ideas that are always at play. But really, it just feels like a modern advancement of Risk that takes the joy of that game, adds a few things that make it much snappier and punchier. And because the games can be over quite quickly, you can often get like 3 of them done, in like an evening. Whereas like these days, a modern legacy game, there's so much setup and rules learning before, and then kind of all the stuff admin after the game that you're struggling to even get through one game in an evening. I would love to come back to this campaign with the group I started with, but I'm not sure it's ever going to happen. So I am tempted to maybe just one day buy a new box and start it with another group with some sort of commitment that they have to finish it. And number 69 is Onitama, which is probably my favorite 2-player abstract game and the closest thing that I would play to chess. I'm not interested in games like chess because I don't want to play a game that you need to learn and study to be good at it. It's just not why I play games. And with Onitama, you don't need to because it's different every time you play it. So you can never grasp on it. As soon as you learn how to be good in one game, it will change the next. But it does have lots of similarities to chess. You are moving your color pieces and you are trying to put yourself in a position to take your opponent's king. If you do that, you win the game. And you can take your opponent's pawns, taking them out of the game, weakening them so that you can better get to the king. But the reason the game's different every time you play it is that you move your pieces using these cards. So if I were to play this card, I could move my piece in any diagonal direction. And maybe there's an opponent there, I get to take it, or I'm just trying to get myself in a better position for the future. But when I play a card, it then goes round to the next player, and I take the one that's coming up. So the cards are constantly cycling. Every time you use a card, it goes to your opponent, which creates this really interesting mind game of which cards do you allow your opponent to have? If your king is in a risky position near some opponents, it's safe as long as they don't have a card that allows them to move in that direction. But then what they're trying to do is work themselves into a position where you have to play that card. So you have to give it to them. And because you can see the cards, it's very easy to visualize where your pieces can move. You can see their cards, so you can see where their pieces are going to be able to go on the next turn, and you can see the card that's coming up. So you'll be like, okay, so if I move here now and then they play that card to move there, I'll be able to then use that and move here. And it really does allow you to plan ahead just like you would in chess. And so it gives you that same feel in a condensed package. You can play a game of this in 20 minutes and get someone up to speed in no time at all because there's really very little to learn. And that's what I love about it. I do want that experience in my gaming collection when you're in the mood for it. But I don't want a game that has such a disparity between players that have played it a lot and someone that's coming to it new for the first time. Because if I was to play this with someone new, we'd both enjoy it because we'd both be as good at it as each other, roughly. But if I was to play against someone that is a different chess level than me, then it would just be a walk in the park for one of us. This used to be further up my top 100, and it's not anything about Onitama, it's just that I'm not playing two-player games as much as I used to. But that doesn't mean that they're bad games, and if I was ranking two-player games, then this would be really high up there for me. And number 68 is Pandemic Fall of Rome, which is one of the many iterations of the cooperative game Pandemic, which, spoiler alert, is one of my favorite games. Fall of Rome is probably one of the ones that's most distant from the original game because it's not about medicine or curing disease. It is about trying to stop the fall of Rome. The diseases in this game are 5 different barbarian tribes that are all converging on Rome to try and sack it. And what's so interesting about this one is that rather than them popping up in different places, they all have their pathways. They are coming from specific parts of the map, and they are slowly getting closer and closer to Rome. So the tension of the game is building and building, and you are just desperately trying to keep up with them and stop them from getting there and finishing you off. So when you're placing the barbarians on the map, you check their location and then go back up their pathway to see where they last are. So instead of them just sort of jumping ahead, they advance by 1 each time. And the way you fight them off is very different as well. You need to recruit these legions that you take around with you, and then to fight them, you'll be rolling dice, trying to get enough hits to destroy them, but you will also be losing a lot of legions on the way. It introduces an element of luck, but it feels thematic for what you're doing, and you roll these dice so many times that it sort of balances itself out by the end of the game. There was a run of historically themed versions of Pandemic, Rising Tide, Iberia, and Fall of Rome. And one of the things I love about it is how much harder it is to move around. In normal Pandemic, you can just fly across the board, but in this, it's Roman times. You don't have any trains or cars, so it takes a long time to get from one place to another. There are some ports that will get you around quicker, but it just means you really have to think carefully about your movements. The heart of the game still feels like Pandemic, a game that I absolutely love, where you've got to worry about the short term and the long term at the same time, where you feel this rising pressure and you really have to work together and use your various special abilities to overcome the problems. But I also love that the twists they've added that fit the historical theme. This is a co-design from Matt Leacock, the Pandemic designer, and Paolo Mori, another designer I really love, the guy that designed Libertalia. And just some of the things they've added are really interesting. So with the special cards in this, you can actually do like an extra special power if you choose to send Rome further into decline. And the decline track works like the outbreak track in Pandemic. So if you get to the bottom of it, you're going to lose the game. So you're saying, I'm willing to get closer to losing the game because this power is so important for what I need right now. And the way that you ally with the different tribes, that's the way that you win the game. But you actually don't have to ally with all of them. If you just wipe them off the map, then that works too. And that's just like a fun thematic thing that if they don't exist anymore, then you don't have to worry about them. And it also reminds me of that desire you have in Pandemic to eradicate the diseases. You so want to just wipe it off the board, but it's so hard to do and you don't need to do it to win the game. So it's nice that in this, you have the opportunity to just completely wipe them off the board and be rewarded for it. There are some other Pandemic games further up this top 100, but I love this one because it's the most distinct from the original game, and it's really nice for a change of pace. At number 67, I'm putting two games, Scrawl and Telestrations, because they're effectively the same game, and they are both drawing party games. It's like the game Telephone if it was a drawing game. So everyone will be given a prompt. In Scrawl, I would get a prompt like karate chopping a frog, and then I would have to draw that. And then I pass my flipbook to the next player. All they can see is the drawing, and they have to guess what it is. So they guess that it's stroking a frog. And then the next person receives this phrase, and they have to draw that, and then it gets passed again around the circle. And so by the end of it, you reveal the journey that these guesses and pictures have gone on, and it ends up somewhere completely different from where it started. And that's the simple joy of the game, that you're just making each other laugh with your ridiculous interpretations of other people's drawings and your ridiculous drawings. This is not a game where you need to be good at drawing. In fact, being bad at drawing is really going to enhance the experience for everyone else and just the enjoyment of it. Because if everyone just guesses the right thing each time, well, then there hasn't been much of what you want from the game come out of it. And that's why I partly prefer the prompts in Scrawl, because they're more weird and wonderful. They are also adult, so they're not so good to play with kids. But for example, you could be given frisbee decapitation. So it's quite an evocative idea that's also very complicated to draw. And the more complicated you're having to draw, the more likely someone's going to misinterpret it later. With Telestrations, things are a bit simpler. So it's like you need to draw a piñata or a vampire or a corkscrew. It's typically just one idea, one word. But Scrawl kind of does the work for you in terms of just making it that little bit funnier if you're into that sense of humor. But Telestrations has got the better flipbooks. In fact, Scrawl doesn't even use flipbooks. It sort of uses these bits of whiteboard that you then peg together, and it's fiddly and annoying. Whereas these flipbooks with Telestrations are absolutely perfect. And I've got the 12-player party pack version, which means that it can go round a circle of 12 players. And the bigger the circle, the more ups and downs you're going to get from your experience, which just makes it better. So if you do have 12 people to play the game with, then that's amazing. And that's the one downside of both of these games, is you need like at least 6 people to have sort of a solid time with the game. Below that, you're just not going to have as much confusion, and the drawings won't go on such good journeys ultimately. That's also why I haven't played either of these games in a long time, because I don't typically get such big groups. I don't have kind of the party game nights that I perhaps used to have when I was a bit younger, and I feel like it will have a renewed life one day. Maybe I'll get like the family-friendly version of Telestrations to play with my daughter. I've never had a game of this that hasn't gone well, and I've taught it to people and just seen it light up a room. It's just such an effective, brilliant party game. At number 66 is Sheriff of Nottingham, which is a bluffing and negotiation game that all revolves around these pouches. You play as market traders who are trying to smuggle goods into Nottingham and get them past the Sheriff of Nottingham. And so every round, one player will take the role of the Sheriff, and each player will put goods secretly into their pouch, and they will hand their pouch to the Sheriff player and tell them what's in there. They can't lie about the number of cards, but they can lie about what's in there. So they would say 3 chickens. And then the Sheriff had to decide whether to open their pouch and check that, or whether to just let it pass through. I could have put some contraband cards into the pouch. Pepper and mead and silk. These are illegal. And so if the Sheriff opens up my pouch and finds those, I'm going to have to pay him a bunch of gold. But if there are 3 chickens in the pouch and he opened it, he has to pay me. He has to apologize for besmirching my name. So there's a really interesting back and forth of, sometimes I'm saying, go on, open my pouch. I'm really trying to get him to do it because I want him to pay me even more money. Other times I'm double bluffing with that. And so you never quite know as the Sheriff, what they're trying to do. It can totally work to take in just the normal goods, because at the end of the game, you're going to get bonuses for having the most of certain types of goods. And what's really cool is that in amongst all of that, you can negotiate with the Sheriff. Before they open your pouch, you can offer them a bit of money. And you might do that as a little hint to be oh, I've definitely got something bad in there, hoping that then they open it. Or, of course, you can pay a good amount and be look, I give you this now, I won't open it. Or you can make a promise for the future of if you don't open mine, then when it comes to my turn and I'm the Sheriff, I won't open yours. Or another player can be I'll give you 3 gold right now to open that pouch. I'm convinced there's contraband in it and we can't let him in with it. So there's just so many opportunities for awesome back and forth negotiation in this game. I love negotiation games. And I love that this one is framed around bluffing as well. And it's rare for a negotiation game to be so short and approachable. You could play this with new players and give them that full experience, but it's not going to take forever. I will be forever disappointed that they changed the theme of this game. It used to be about smuggling goods across the border, so you were hiding alcohol and things. And to me, that's just a much more evocative theme to get discussing and having fun with my friends. And I've actually had people that are kind of turned off by the look of this game. When they see it, it looks like a childish game, it's got a Disney theme. They actually have a version of this with the Disney Robin Hood thing. And I don't know, maybe it's something about being British that the whole Robin Hood thing just isn't at all interesting to me as a board game theme in this context, because it appears to be kind of light and silly. And actually what it is a really interesting cutthroat game where you're really having to do deals and lie to people. And to me, that just doesn't fit the aesthetic. But no matter how it looks, it's a great game and it's been a staple on my shelf for years. I haven't got it to the table in a while, and it could maybe go back up my top 100 if I sort of renewed my love for it. But I do have a lot of other negotiation games I love as well. And number 65 is Temple to Schrecken, which was originally known as Time Bomb, but the reason I have this one is because it comes in a smaller box. And this is a hidden traitor game. The idea is that you're adventurers going into a temple to steal gold. You're trying to find these gold cards. But some of the players are secretly the temple guards that are trying to stop that from happening. So you're either an adventurer or you're a temple guard. You are all dealt some cards that represent the chambers of this temple. And those chambers will either be empty, quite commonly, they will have gold in them, which you're trying to find, or they will have a fiery trap in them, which will kill adventurers. And so you shuffle these cards up, you deal them out to the players equally, and then you have them in front of you, and you have seen the cards that you have, but then you shuffle them up so you don't know quite which is which. And then you're trying to convince the other players to come and visit your chambers to reveal your cards if you've got the gold. So you're sort of communicating with each other saying, oh, I've got some gold over here, come and have a look. And so someone whose turn it is, they put a key here and they flip over this card and they find an empty chamber because they didn't know where it was. You're just going and trying to find the gold. But where the bluffing comes in is that the guards are trying to lure them towards wasting their time. You're trying to stop them from finding the gold. So if you have gold, then you're maybe being like, oh, don't come over here, I've got a trap. But then if you're a temple guard and you've got a trap, then you might use that as your time to be like, no, yeah, come in over here, I've definitely got gold. And of course, you lead them to their death. A really kind of simple hidden traitor game, but it actually has like a bit more to it than some others, in that you have these cards that you're talking about. You have evidence to kind of show whether you've been lying or telling the truth. And these fun moments where, it gets revealed as a trap and, you'd convinced everyone that you were good early on in the game and they all trusted you. I love these kind of simple hidden traitor games. I'm not that good at lying to people, but I do like to think that I'm good at detecting people's lies. And I just love that feeling of suspense and tension that comes from this and all the discussion. They're very interactive social games. And this is one of the best ones that I own, and it just happens to come in this tiny box. It's gonna need a bigger player count, probably 5 to 10 players. But just the fact you can sort of take it and play it anywhere, and it's definitely on the shorter side for these kind of games, just makes it a really convenient, versatile one of these, and also a brilliant game in its own regard. Number 64 is No Thanks, which is one of the best simple card games that has ever existed. It's this brilliant game of trying to resist what you don't want. So in this game, cards are bad. They are all worth negative points at the end of the game. So if I take a 15, that's 15 negative points. Add that to the rest, and the person with the least negative points is going to win the game. And so every round, a card is on offer, and you don't want it. You never want it. But some are worse than others because they're higher than others. And when it's your turn, you can reject this card, say no thanks, by placing a token on it. Then it's the next player's turn. They can place a token on it. And the next player. Now, eventually, someone will either run out of tokens and then they'll have to take it, or they'll decide, actually, maybe I'll take it, because they get the tokens that are on it. Now, the tokens work as positive points. They are going to help you at the end of the game soften the blows of the cards that you've taken. But ultimately, they allow you to resist more cards, because if you run out of tokens, you have to take a card. And some of the cards are really bad. This is the 27. So having loads of tokens to be able to resist the really bad cards is crucial. And if you end up with no tokens, it can be kind of a death spiral, because then you take a card and everyone kind of knows that you're going to keep being forced to take cards. And you're only getting a few tokens on the cards that other players are resisting. So it just can be very tough. But there's another interesting wrinkle to the game that makes it really cool, which is that if you take cards that are consecutive in numerical order, so if I took the 15 and I already had the 14, I only get punished for the lowest one of that run. So you're trying to collect cards that go together. I mean, you don't need them, but it means you can take a really punishing card like 15 and it's worth nothing to you. It won't hurt you at all. And so when that card comes out and people are putting their tokens on it, you're like, great, I'm just collecting tokens here because I can take that card anytime I want. It's not going to hurt me and I get a bunch of free tokens. The whole of the game is about understanding how much other people are going to be willing to pay to resist. And it's just such a fascinating exercise in kind of mind games and stress and people's willingness to keep pushing their luck. If they just spend one more token, then maybe someone else will be forced to take it and they'll be fine. There's just so many interesting decisions in a game that can be described in a minute. There's nothing to the game on the surface, but deep down underneath, there's a card game that you can just play again and again. It's absolutely brilliant. I love it. It's, like I said, one of my favorite card games of all time. What I don't love is this new version comes in a massive box. This is my original version that is, like 4 times as small. But the new one does have these bigger cards, so it's easier to keep the tokens on it. And ultimately, this is the only version you can get, at least in the UK. So I'll be keeping my old one, but it's still a brilliant game regardless of how big the box is. At number 63 is Mille Fiori, and we're back to my favorite designer, Reinoso. This is one of his newer ones, and it might seem a bit dry and boring. We're playing as glassmakers in this city, but it's actually this really competitive fight in these different regions of this city. Basically, every turn you're going to be placing one of your tokens down onto the board. And we're hand drafting cards, so I will pick a card secretly, and then when it comes to my turn, I'll reveal it, and I will place my token in the matching area, scoring points for that thing. Every time you put a token down on the board, you're going to get some points. But it's all about how many points, because sometimes you can get loads. So over here, every time you add to a collection of your tiles, you will score every tile that you previously played. So you're trying to build this massive section, and of course the other players can get into your way. And this is kind of the running theme of the game, is that it's this wonderful shared experience. Every other player will cause you problems in terms of scoring the points that you want. And the order of drafting these cards and when you get to play them is so crucial, because you might get into a spot before another player and steal all the points that they were hoping for. If I play a card matching this area here, I place my diamond on the next spot and I score points for the place that it went on. Really simple. But if I've got a continuous section of my color, I score points for all the ones that I previously played. So here I get 6 points. If I was to add another one later, I'd get 10 points. So then the other players really need to step in and stop me from running away with it, because it just builds and builds. And also, each of the different spots of the board has this race to get 20 points. So here, if you get a series of different numbers before any other player, you get 20 points. You can run away with loads of points in this game. I played this just the other week, had an amazing time with it, and the points differences were huge. And because the opportunities that you can find are just massive, and it feels so exciting and rewarding to have like these big wins, but also kind of spot these opportunities. It's a game that's full of dopamine hits. You spot these opportunities, hope that you can get there in front of another player, and they feel amazing when you get like 30 points from it. And the real magic from the game comes from the bonus actions that you can do. So every part of the board will grant you bonus actions when you do certain things. And that's where you can take a card from this face-up display and play it. You get to do another turn, which is huge, because if on a turn you score 30 points and then you get another turn, then that's another 30 points potentially, depending on where you get to play. And so you can see what's available. So you're trying to unlock these actions at the right time to be able to get the cards that are available before someone else gets a bonus action and takes it before you. So there's just this amazing tension in the game where you secretly pick your card, but you don't know what they've got. And they could reveal their card and totally ruin your plans, because the timing of when you get those opportunities is so crucial. But also just with the bonus actions and the way you can just like cascade points, you could get a bonus action, take another card to get another bonus action, and just have an amazing turn. Like, it won't happen all the time. It doesn't kind of bog the game down with downtime. You might have it a handful of times in the game, but when it happens, it's huge. It feels incredible, and everyone else is just like, ugh. It's not a game that really sells itself from how it looks. You could look at this and feel that it was completely different from the experience you actually get. It's much lighter and simpler than the box and the theme implies as well. And the gameplay is just so much punchier and more exciting than you would think. And number 62 is Trio, which is the simplest of games that has really grown in my estimations. In the year that it came out, it didn't make it into my top 10 games of the year originally. And then the more I've played it, I've really kind of grown to love it and appreciate it. There is very little to it. You are trying to create trios, sets of 3 of one number. In the deck, there is 1 to 12, and there's 3 of each number. So you are trying to find the 3 ones. And the way you try to find those trios is by going fishing. You will ask another player to reveal their lowest or highest card. So you put your cards in numerical order. If someone was asked me, reveal my lowest card, it's a 3. Of course, depending on the shuffle, my lowest card could be something as high as a 6. And so you're getting information about where the numbers are. So I reveal my lowest card, and then they ask someone else to reveal their lowest card. That's also a 3. So then they have to find that final 3. Now, it could be in the cards in the middle, so they could flip one of those, or they could ask someone else. They could ask me again, because I've actually got the second 3, and there they've got the trio, and they're one step towards winning the game. Once you get 3 trios, you win the game, unless you get the golden trio, which is the number 7. Because the number 7 is right in the middle of the set, it's really hard to get, but if you get that, you immediately win. So what you've got is a really cool memory game where you are remembering cards that are in people's hands. You're connecting those numbers to different people, and the memory is building as the group goes on, because someone might reveal my 3 and then another person's 3, and that one 3 is still remaining. Now, someone has it in their hand, so when it gets to their turn, they'll be able to complete their set, but can another player find it first? There's loads of tension and excitement in terms of when sets get revealed, like what information comes out. And of course, like with any memory game, things will get forgotten about. It will be a while since we last saw a 6, but we saw it ages ago, and now where was it? Because I've found the other 2 and you just can't remember. But there is something about it being connected to the people that does make it easier than your average memory game, but also just somehow more fun, because you've got a bit of information that the other players don't have. And there also is just a little bit of sort of bluffing, and you can kind of give yourself away that you have a card. Like if someone's revealed the 2 3s and I've got the final one, if I'm being a bit shifty, they're more likely to pick me than someone else. And I think that just really adds to the game. It's hard to quantify exactly what it is that it gets right, but it seems to simplify or streamline what is required of you in terms of memorizing. That means it is achievable, even as a 40-year-old whose memory is probably not what it used to be. I still have a blast with this, and so is everyone that I've taught it to. And that's another thing about Trio, is it is just such a universal game. It plays from 3 to 6 players. I've played it with kids and adults, loads of different ages, and it just works. It's so smooth. It's so easy to teach. It's such a clever concept that everyone grasps. It feels like a sort of classic game, but it has a couple of modern twists that elevate it above that kind of thing. If I needed a card game tomorrow for just like such a pure experience, I'm just gonna guarantee have fun in a short space of time with no rules, then Trio is like the top of that list at the moment. It reminds me of something like The Mind, where it can be very polarizing and you have to very much buy into the experience to find the enjoyment. But if you're like me and you do buy into it, I think there is magic to be found, and I think it's great. And number 61 is Air, Land and Sea and its sister game Spies, Lies and Supplies, which is an absolute masterpiece in simplicity when it comes to a 2-player card game. It's what they now call a lane battler, in that you are battling across air, land, and sea. You are playing cards on your side, your opponent on the other side, and you are trying to win 2 of those lanes. If you have the most strength in land and sea at the end of the battle, then you will win that battle. You play a bunch of battles, and if you get to 12 points before the other player, then you win the game. And it is such an impressive design. It only uses 18 cards, and yet every battle feels different because of how the cards play and interact with each other. The cards each have a strength, counts towards how strong you are in that region, whether you're beating the other player. They are colored to each region, so I can typically only play an air card to the air, but there are ways around that, cards that will allow you to manipulate that. You can always play a card face down, for example. That counts as 2 strength, but there are other cards that allow you to flip cards. So you can flip it, and now you've got a card that shouldn't be in the land. You now get to place it there, but your opponent can flip cards face down as well. Every battle, you both get 6 cards, and then 6 are left in the deck. That's all that you'll play with. So you look at these cards and you decide, what order am I playing them? How am I going to distribute them across these? Which of the two fields am I going to fight in this round? And of course, then you have to deal with the fact that your opponent's going to make decisions that mess with those plans. But there's just something incredible about the way they interact with each other, that order is so important to your success, that when those powers combine and act off of each other is crucial. But the brilliant masterstroke of this game is that you can withdraw from a battle. If you're not doing well, you can see that your opponent's going to win this one. You withdraw, and that means that they get less points for winning. Because you play 6 cards each. If you both play your 6 cards, you get to the end of the battle, then the person who wins is going to get 6 points for winning. That's halfway towards winning the game. But if you withdraw early, let's say you withdraw after only having played 1 card, then your opponent will only get 2 points. So you decide really early on, clearly they've got a stronger situation than you have. That's it, I'm giving up. They're still getting points, they're still doing better than you, but you're not handing them victory. It's such an amazing dilemma that I've never seen in another game because it requires you to swallow your pride. Every game you are trying to be as good as possible and cling on to victory. And this is saying no. Know when you've lost, accept it, and then come back next time. And of course it perfectly fits the theme because you've lost the battle, but you will still win the war. I also really love the sister game Spies, Lies and Supplies. It works in a very similar way, but with a different set of 18 cards. And there's a bit more intrigue and kind of guessing and bluffing in that version of the game. So it's perhaps a bit spicier. They're two different feels, but I love them both. And if you want to see me talk about it more, go to my website, actualol.com/search, search for the name of that game, and you'll find me talk about it in one of my older videos. As you could do with any of the games. If you wonder if I've covered a game in my top 100, go to actualol.com/search, and you'll find out. That was part 4 of my top 100 board games. If you want to buy any of them, there are links below. To see the rest of the series, please subscribe to the channel. And you can get exclusive videos of mine by signing up to my Patreon. I'm John Perkis, thanks for watching.